Hey, everybody, give me a second. Here. And I'm bad like the ball. I'm a dog, but I still wanna party. Things not like I'm ready to bend. I'm a 10, so I'm pulling it in. Like, can y'all hear me? Let me see. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? I'm here. I'm going to get started just for lack of air space. No, dead air, rather, what they call it. Dead air, right? So let me get started. Let me stop this music. All right, so I'm doing this live, and it's about friendship. So let's get started. Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? Y'all all right? Listen, I just want to say to y'all before I begin this live, we are in uncertain times, and I just want to say to you all, take things one day at a time, plan for what you could plan for, stay positive, and focused. So the format of this live is going to be, I'm going to give some examples, of SHAMEA and PORSHA and how they showed up for each other on this show as best friends, quote unquote. Side note, was anybody else expecting them to show up in best friend mode versus the downfall of a friendship? Because I was. Then I'll pose the question to you all. Do you think friendship, do you think in your friendships, you have to play a position? Because personally, I do. Everybody plays positions in their friendships. And then, we'll go to the chat if anybody joins. And we'll have a discussion. All right, so let's get on to this live. I'm going to keep talking because I don't want no dead air space. All right, so we're going to start with SHAMEA. And in my opinion, SHAMEA was not okay with playing the background or the sidekick when it came to PORSHA. And I'll tell you why, in my opinion. And mind you, this is just for me watching the show and, interviews and social media. I felt like SHAMEA felt like she has done so much for PORSHA, which SHAMEA shouted to the rooftops on this show, okay? And when PORSHA got put onto Roa, in her mind, PORSHA did not fight for her to be on the show. But I pose the question, is it PORSHA's responsibility to make sure she get on the show? And side note, have y'all heard in social media that SHAMEA came around PORSHA when PORSHA got married to Cordell, which happens to be around the time PORSHA's first appearance on Real Housewives of Atlanta? Ain't that crazy? But anyway, so my next point is, again, was PORSHA supposed to make sure that SHAMEA got on the show? Like, y'all can answer that in the chat. And we could go back and forth with that one. Hey, I adore and things. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but how you doing? So, let's move on to the next point. I also feel like SHAMEA low-key feels like I could sing, I could act, I could host better than PORSHA. I could be a better friend too. But yet PORSHA keeps getting the shine. What y'all think? Do I think SHAMEA and PORSHA are jealous of each other? No, I do not. Do I think they may have coveted some things in each other's life? Yes. So let me get into these examples and then we can have this discussion. SHAMEA came to the show to expose her and PORSHA's friendship. I'm just saying that because that's what it looked like on the show. Hey, Tatum. Right? So she came to expose their friendship and set PORSHA up in my opinion, to be a bad friend all around. And for me, friendships are give and take. So let's talk about the dinner scene with Shamea and Porsha and what Shamea had to get out at this dinner. She talked about Miss Diane not liking her, then her and Porsha not showing their real friendship, which I really wish she would expose what their real friendship was like. But the thing she wanted the world to know is that Porsha said that the company gonna have to pay them more money in order for her to show their real friendship. Now, ain't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Shamea also brings up a 10-year-old conversation that her and Porsha had about her not coming to her wedding. But she had to bring it back to the show. Although they talked about it, although they resolved it. Shamea had to bring it back up. And talk about it with the other ladies. To me, I felt like you're still harboring hurt from Porsha not showing up to your wedding. That happens, but if y'all had the discussion, why? When the ladies came to you about it, it should have been, me and Porsha talked about it, we resolved it, and we're good. And she should have left it at that. But she kept going on and on about how Porsha not a good friend because Angela and Britt confirmed it. Okay, Kelly ain't confirming nothing now because her and Shamea are best friends. And in my opinion, she basically gave Angela and Britt a storyline to keep going on about. My next point is, let's talk about, the interviews when every time Shamea was asked about Porsha, it was always Porsha was not a good friend to her and how she showed up for Porsha and it's not being reciprocated, but then we'll turn around and say, but I love Porsha and I wish nothing but the best for her. I mean, all the time in her interviews. And then let's talk about the YouTube she did with her mom and talking about Miss Diane calling her a dog. Now, in my opinion, I don't believe Miss Diane called her a dog. She did not call her a dog. She just used the saying, you got to be careful of the dog that carries the bone. She wasn't calling you a dog, in my opinion. I really think, you was in your feelings because you know that Miss Diane don't really care for you. The other thing Shamea had to bring to the TV twice, once was with Cynthia and the other was with Porsha at the dinner, in the conversation with Porsha telling her that Miss Diane don't really care for her. And I felt like, that was a private conversation between you and Porsha was just letting you know how her mother feel, but it didn't affect y'all friendship. But you felt like you needed to bring that to the TV. Excuse me, I got a cough. But I don't know. Shamea, lastly, she said to Porsha that she handles their friendship with care. And I said, in my opinion, on this show, you didn't do that. If y'all wasn't really friends. Because word on the curb is y'all was on the outs before y'all even started filming. So that's the word on the curb. Okay. So let's move on to Porsha. Porsha examples I have. Porsha showed up real quiet on the show because her storyline was in shambles with her divorce, because she was supposed to come to the show with Simon with all this glamorous blended family and luxury lifestyle, but all of that fell to the wayside. So Porsha, when asked about Shamea and her interviews, it was, I love it, I want y'all to get to know her, she's a queen, money and opulence. Porsha also, when the ladies came to her with something about Shamea, it was, we already talked about it and we're good. It's between us. Shutting the ladies down. Although on the show, Shamea tried to make it seem like it was Porsha. Isn't that weird? But anyway, let me just say this. Porsha did not show up on these cameras talking about Shamea. They don't even have B-roll or a hot mic conversation where Porsha is talking about Shamea. But what do we see? We see Britt and Angela coming back to Porsha talking about what Shamea said about her. And it's not cool. The way Shamea came to the show, it was very disappointing in my opinion. Very, very disappointing. You see Porsha giving Shamea her photo shoot moment in a Grenada because Shamea was feeling down about her daughter being sick. Now, whether that was a produced moment or not, or real friendship, it happened. And Porsha showed up for Shamea in that moment. So when Shamea says Porsha don't show up for her, it's hard for me to believe that, especially over time and the years that they have been friends. You mean Porsha ain't show up for you not one time? Not once? Now let's talk about this alliance. Now, do I feel Porsha and Shamea had a conversation? Definitely. I feel like they wanted to show up on this show a certain way, and a conversation was had, in my opinion. Do I feel like Shamea did some backroom deals, for lack of a better word, with the newbies outside of Porsha? I do. You all have to realize, or for me, what I realize is that Porsha and Shamea barely had any scenes on the show. Why? What happened? That's never been explained. Hopefully we get to hear it in these next two parts. And a lot of stuff was just not cohesive. It was like this season was pieced together and we didn't really get, a full understanding. Hey, I'm sorry, let me get this name right. 4PF Baby J, I think that's how you say it, official. I'll never understand why folks think they know these celebrities' personality. Man, make different content. I mean, well, the purpose of making the content is watching the show. The purpose of watching the show and doing content is to give your opinion. And everybody has a different opinion, and I appreciate yours. So the last thing was the reunion when Porsha paused when asked if Shamea introduced Porsha to Simon. And Porsha confirming that Shamea actually told Drew, said that she was going to ask Drew about, effing Dennis. This just showed me that, it was a lot of collusion between them and they are holding back some things between each other. And like I said, maybe we'll get it in the next two parts of the reunion. Oh, I'm sorry. 4P baby. I thought it said person. I'm like, this screen is so tiny that I'm looking at. I'm sorry. Don't take it personal. I didn't mean nothing personal. Don't take it personal. But thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so again. So these are my examples of their friendships on the show and how they showed up for each other. Were there some things they both did wrong in this friendship? Absolutely. But that's life. Like, in friendships, it's give and take. It really is. Let me see. What's my last notes here? Because these are my last notes here. And I really would like to have the conversation with you. The fact that Porsha's on the show and going through a divorce and loss of, a family member. Shamea caring for her daughter, going through health challenges, her wanting more children, her music endeavors, and we didn't get to see the opportunity to witness, the quote-unquote best friend dynamic and them showing up for each other. It was a little disappointing not to see them be there for each other, since we know that they were friends for a very long time. So I give all that, wind down on their friendship to say, do y'all feel like when you're in a friendship or your friendships, you have a position to play? Like, for example, Shamea admits to being a people pleaser. And in that, you have to know your boundaries and your limits. Because if you're always there for somebody and you're not getting it in return, it's like lending somebody some money. Once you lend somebody some money, you ain't getting it back. So whatever you do, you got to do it out of the kindness of your heart. right? So I don't know. I don't know what to say. But to me, Portia as a friend, she seems, if it don't benefit her, and I like Portia, if it don't benefit her, she's out. If it ain't her way, she learned her boundaries early on. Okay? Me personally, I like Shamea. I liked her as a sidekick because her coming to the show, it was disappointing. It really was disappointing for her to be in the he say, she say, and the back and forth. So, that's that. Like I could say for me, as a friend, I'm one of the friends that show up for everybody. But I also believe in taking cues from people's actions, right? If when it's time for people to show up for you and they got excuses, you know what to do. You fall back. You play your position. It's not that y'all can't be friends anymore, but you know what friends to show up for, what friends to be there for. You know the saying, your friends are here for a season, reason, and a lifetime. So I pose to you all, the question. In friendships, do you believe that you have to play a position? Sorry about that, y'all. I had to mute the thing for a minute. But yeah, again, I want to thank Adore. What is it? I do. Am I reading this right? Something things. I do random things. Oh, I do random things. Hey, I want to thank Tatum Van Meter for joining. Again, for PF Baby J Official, thank you for joining. Sorry for reading your message incorrectly, but my screen is so doggone tiny. Um, but thank you again for joining. Again, do y'all feel like in your friendships you have to play your position? Anyway, that's all I got. If y'all would like to comment on if you have to play a position in your friendships, we can have a conversation. If not, I'm going to end it here. And again, thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. And I'm going to get gone. Love y'all. Peace.